Hey, Rick from DreamSideOut. Hey, there's been lots of changes in my life. I made a major change in my living situation. I now live in a motorhome, and you're probably interested to hear and see what kind of rig I ended up with. So I'll show you here in just a second. Okay, I'm just out taking the day off today because the sun is out. Man, I tell you, we get these long periods of rainy weather. We've had mudslides and all kinds of stuff around here. National Park Mount Rainier is closed because of a mudslide, and sometimes they're dangerous. I mean, one time a mudslide wiped out an entire community. It was really bad, but it's been kind of that way for a while. But today the sun came out and I just said, screw it, I'm getting away from work today. So I guess you're probably waiting here to see what kind of motorhome I ended up with. I'm going to do a dramatic pan over here with some dramatic music to just, spice it up a little bit. So here we go. Boom. Cymbal crash. Cool, huh? This is my 2011 Savannah 3500 motorhome. Now you're probably going, oh, come on, Rick. What are you doing? That's your old box truck. Well, it might look like a box truck, but it is in fact a motorhome, and I have the legal paperwork to prove it. How's that for stealth, huh? Can't get any stealthier than that. Okay, so you're wondering, what's the story, right? As you remember, I did a video on my really difficult situation with insurance companies, trying to get this thing insured. I ended up with an insurance policy that cost me over $2,000 for 6 months, which makes it over $4,000 for the whole year for a premium. That is just insane. And that was through Progressive. An insurance agent, AAA insurance agent, actually signed me up for that because he said it was the only thing he could find. And perhaps it was, at the time, the only thing he could come up with. I don't know. But that was just disturbing to me, and I was getting very discouraged about that. And I know also that some people who had followed my van-dwelling box truck adventure had, plans to get themselves a box truck. And I know at least one person here in the area who said that she gave up on it after she heard about my insurance story. So that was kind of bummed me out. I feel like, it kind of ended up being a bad deal. I don't know. I was wondering it myself if it was going to work out, if I was going to find some way to change this. I went for a while just trying different insurance companies. I would call somebody up and they wouldn't have anything. And so, I listened to people on YouTube who told me that, what you need to do is get your rig converted to an RV or a motorhome instead of a van. And I started looking into that. I thought, well, maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's, people keep saying that's what I need to do. So that's what I looked into. And I started going down the rabbit hole on how to do that in the state of Washington. First of all, from my research, it looked like the first thing you had to do was to go get a state inspection with the state patrol. They have to bless your rig and say that it's safe to drive and all that kind of stuff. And then you have to get it weighed. And then you have to take that paperwork to the state licensing agency and sign some other paperwork, and then they sign you up as a motorhome instead of a van. Well, I was all set to get the state patrol inspection. I had a date on the calendar and everything, and I was really sweating it out because it was just stressful, you know, thinking, oh man, I don't want to go to a state patrol inspection and have some guy looking in my van in my private, it's my private, my private place, right? I mean, it's like an invasion of privacy is what I'm trying to say here. And it was getting closer and closer to the date that I had set on the calendar. And then I happened to be talking to a guy that I was parked next to down in Seattle, and he was a school bus dweller. He lived in a school bus, and we were talking about this, and he said, no man, you don't have to go get a state inspection. You just go to the state agency and tell them that you want to do this. And I said, well, but I had done that before, and they're the ones that kind of led me down this other rabbit hole. I said, no, you got the wrong person at the desk. That's what he told me. You got to get the right person at the desk. And I said, well, come on. You mean they aren't even on the same page down there? He says, well, no, they aren't. And I said, well, okay, I'm going to try it out. So I went down to the state agency, and the same gal that was there, I saw her there, and I tried to get a different agent this time. And I said, I want to do the process of having my box truck converted to a motorhome. And she said, she was stumped. She hadn't heard of that. She started looking up the rules, and which was a good thing, because I think the other gal, she didn't look up the rules. She just went by what she had been doing in the past. But there are some rules now about this, and it turns out it's a very easy thing to do. So she actually called the other woman over to her, and they had to do a little bit of haggling over it. And they finally determined that, yeah, it's pretty, all we got to do is sign this piece of paper. And now there are some rules that I found out. One is that the rules actually state that to qualify as a motor home, it must have a built-in stove, or, and the word is or, it's not and, it's or. And they both saw that in the rule, and they agreed that it's or, okay, or a built-in toilet. So that you have to have either a built-in stove or a built-in toilet. That's it. That's all that's necessary to qualify as a motorhome. Then the other thing is, for my kind of a truck, I'm supposed to post on the exterior of the truck, which I haven't done yet, by the way. I'm supposed to put a post on the exterior saying this is not for hire. In other words, it's not a commercial vehicle. It is a motorhome. All right. So I had to sign a little piece of paper, and I had to write a statement in there saying I have a built-in stove, and then sign it, and then she signed it, and then they attached that as an amendment to my new title, which they gave me a new title for the truck, and new plates and tabs. And that, I think, cost me around $80 to have all that done. But it was right there on the spot, right at the counter. I just got it done and walked out of the place with, now I'm a motorhome and not a box truck anymore, okay? And I thought, and I was really feeling good about that. I walked out thinking, oh, okay, this is great. Everybody said, and then of course it hit me, bing, wait a minute, is this really going to make any difference? Okay, now I just spent $80 to get this thing switched over. Is it really going to help? Duh, I should have, Well, I guess I live and learn as I go along here, but I thought the next thing I have to do to find out is start finding some insurance. So I started calling around to insurance companies, and one after another would, I'd get on the phone, and here's how the conversation would go. Hi, I have a motorhome I'd like to insure. Oh, that's great. What kind of a motorhome? Savannah 3500 GMC 2011. Oh, that's great. What is the manufacturer of your motorhome? GMC. Oh, is this like a a home-built conversion or is it a manufactured one? I said, it's a home-built. Oh, we don't do those. Okay, now, after about 3 or 4 of those, I had several of those kind of calls. Now I'm back in the hole again going, okay, I just spent $80 for nothing. This didn't help me one bit. Why does everybody think that getting it converted to a motorhome is even going to help? I don't know, but... And then I sat on it for a while, just not knowing what to do next because I was so discouraged over the whole thing, thinking, well, I'm just locked into a high-paying insurance situation, and now I've got to inform my insurance company that guess what? Now you're insuring a motorhome and you don't even know. You know, I'm going, oh gosh, what am I going to do? One day I'm sitting at work and a telemarketer called me. You know how you get those on your cell phone? I usually just kill them. You know, I just don't even answer. But this time I answered. I don't know, maybe it's divine providence or something. I just answered, and the gal said, hey, we got some car insurance for you. And I said, oh, okay, great, put me on. And, you know, she, whoa, it caught her off guard because usually I'm sure they're used to getting rejected, right? And she said, okay, well, that's great. I'll connect you up with an insurance agent. So they connected me right up with an Allstate agent, a local one, somebody that was right actually in the state of Washington, not far away. That's why I think it's divine providence, you know. I do believe in that. But, and the guy got on the phone, he says, hey, what kind of vehicle do you have? Says, before we go down any discussion on this, I want you to know up front what you're dealing with here. And if you can help me out, great, but if you can't, then we can't even talk. So I don't even want to get into it. He said, okay, well, what is it? I said, I have a box truck, and it is a home-built conversion, and I live in it, and that's what it is, and I need to get it insured. And if you guys can't insure that sort of thing in my situation, then just tell me now. I don't want to waste any more time. He says, well, let's not blow it off so fast. Let me see what I can do. So, well, okay, that's better than what I've been getting in the past, right? So he said, let me call you back. And so he called me back. He says, yeah, we can give you a quote. I got a quote here for you. And I explained to him that I had met the state requirements and everything for a motorhome. And he said, that's great. That's good that you did that. Okay. And because that helps them categorize it, I guess. And he said, yeah, we have a kind of a category for that sort of thing. We call it a specialty vehicle, and we can insure those. And he gave me a quote, and I looked at the quote, and I was staggered. I was blown away. It was $1,000 a year with just as good of coverage as I had for the 4,000. You know, now a lot of people I know are getting insurance for their rigs a lot cheaper than that. If you can get it for $500 a year, great. But he reminded me that I had a couple of accidents on my record, so that's probably why mine is a little higher. But $1,000 a year from $4,000 a year, I think I'll take it. And I told him, hey, I said, I don't want, I mean, what's happened to me in the past is, you get signed up for an insurance, and this happened to me also. I got signed up for one place, and after a few months, they dropped me because it went up in their, their insurance agent and everything signed me up, but when it got processed up the chain in their chain of command in their big corporate structure, that just kicked out a reject letter, And so I want total assurance that I'm covered for the year at least. And he says, oh yeah, this is for real. And I said, well, great. Okay, let's just go forward with this. And so he signed me up, and lo and behold, my insurance problem is now solved. So I guess I do owe some thanks to some folks out there who's told me to get changed over to a motorhome, because I think that helped with the insurance. I'm not entirely sure that it helped, but the guy seemed, the insurance agent, I didn't ask him directly. I should call him up and ask him, I suppose. But they seemed to like the fact that it was legally titled as a motorhome. So there you go. I can, you know what, if rather than make a whole video on step-by-step process, which would be a boring video, it would only apply to people in the state of Washington, a small amount of people. If you want more information on how I did that, and if you want information on who I contacted, which insurance company, it's Allstate Insurance, and I can even give you the name of the guy. I'm not making any money off of it or anything, but I'm sure that if they were able to insure me, they can do somebody else as well. And of course, do your due diligence and shop around. So with that, that's my story. Let me show you a quick look around here of a few things I've changed in the van. One is in order to meet this requirement, and I made a few other changes as well. So hang on a second. All right, so looking in the van here, I mounted a shelf right here, just a regular shelf, just mounted it straight on the wall. And this is just my good old Everest stove here. And all I did was put the shelf there, mounted on the shelf, and I screwed it on underneath. So you see the screws there? So those screws go right into it. So now it's a built-in stove. It was that simple, and that qualifies for the state requirement as for a built-in stove. And here I have it tied permanently into the main tank. You know, I have these nailed down a little bit so they don't vibrate and stuff. But there you go. That's what I did. So the other thing I'll show you here is, first of all, my buddy heater here is tied into the same tank as the stove is now. So I've got a Y, I can't open the thing right now, I got stuff on it, but I've got a Y fitting on there so I can feed both the stove and the buddy heater. But in addition to the buddy heater, under here I installed a Chinese diesel heater. See the tank right there? Right in my storage area. And boy, that thing is great. That has just been a lifesaver through the winter, this winter. You know, I use both heaters for different reasons. Like right now with the back door open, it's a nice day, but it's still kind of cool. So I'll turn the heater on there to warm my hands or something while I'm sitting in here. But if it's one of those days where it's all cold, rainy, nasty, and I just feel like I gotta get warmed up, I can crank up that diesel heater, man, and it puts out some heat. It gets up to 75 degrees in here and climbing when real fast. It becomes like a sauna in here. And here's the meter, which you can't see very well. It's the controller in the meter, and it tells. It was a little bit cryptic on how to even use this thing, but it works great, and I'm so glad I put that in there. That was really cool. See, I put my table down here, and I can sit there with my legs under there and just pump that heat right up on me, and it just, oh man, and it gets so warm in here, it dries everything out. It would be a great clothes dryer too if I just put my, I hang my clothes over here sometimes. If something's wet, dries it out really quick, and it's just an excellent addition. So I'm really glad I did that. That's helped me out a lot, and it uses very little fuel. It does use some battery. You'll run your voltage down a little bit, but I usually get several hours of heat per night. I don't run it all night. I never run a heater or anything all night in the van. That's just something I have never done. I don't believe it's safe to do that. It's just my opinion. A lot of people do, but I don't. But I crank that thing on like at night when I'm sitting in here working on some artwork or a video or something. It gets so warm in here, I don't need to, it's like a sauna. I don't need to have clothes on. I can be like in t-shirt, you know, sitting in here, and it's really nice. It does make a little noise when it's going, so it's not super stealthy, but it works great. Okay, well, that's all for one video. Maybe someday I'll do another video. I haven't been in the video production business much lately, but I thought I'd get this information out to you guys because I know that was something people were interested in. Like I say, if you want to contact me about the specifics of how I did that or the specifics of the particular insurance agent and group that I went through, I'd be glad to point you their direction. And I'm sure they'd be happy to sign you up for something. Seems like they're the kind that are willing to work with us types who live in vehicles like this. Okay, that being said, I hope you all have a good day. Take care.